I don't put the robe on very often anymore. I used to wear this every Sunday morning, but now typically it is only pulled out for special occasions. And one of those special occasions is a wedding, where a man and a woman come together and make promises to each other and to God. And when a couple does this the way that it is intended, I describe it as being something like an explosion of joy. It is one of those days where at the end of it, my smile muscles hurt. It's one of my favorite things to do as a pastor, because we see the power of commitment and love. And of course, a marriage is where the Bible talks about the two shall become one flesh. Sex is a demonstration of love and power that is wider in its spectrum than any other human act I know of, by a wide margin, because it can be something that represents total commitment to something that is only a financial transaction. It is something that can be incredibly tender. It is something that can be incredibly violent. And it's not surprising that as we get to the end of Revelation, as we get to the end of the Bible, that this analogy comes out in greater and greater force. We have a contrast here in chapter 17 between what is called the whore of Babylon and ultimately the bride of Christ. Verses 3 through 6. And God carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the impurities of her sexual immorality. And on her forehead was written a name of mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes and of earth's abominations. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. Yikes. Well, what's going on here? Well, John is painting a contrast, because the church in the time of the Roman emperors was very tempted to throw in its lot with the powers of the way Romans did things, the way that they handled power and money and, yes, love. And John is drawing a strong caricature, kind of like a political cartoon. A guy by the name of Craig Coaster puts it this way: in trying to convince followers of Jesus to hang in there with him, even in the midst of difficulty, he says this: if people can be persuaded that what appears impressive is actually ridiculous, that what seems glamorous is really garish, and that what appears desirable is in fact ludicrous, they will be more ready to resist it. The way the Romans used all of these things ultimately is like the representation of this woman who's a harlot. In verse 3, John is carried away into the wilderness. He's given a little more distance in order to see this society that he's living in and to see it for what it actually is. Friends, I'd like you to consider this. A lot of times as kids, if we've grown up in the church, we're taught that we are children of God, and that's true. We are taught that we are citizens of the kingdom of heaven, and that's true. We are taught that we are servants of God, and that's true. All of it. But those are not the only images that God gives us to describe our relationship with him. Sometimes we think about God and ourselves in a particular way, and we put that away in a box when we go to college or we launch off into our career in our 20s, because we don't want to mess that up. We kind of put it in our memory closet. Then we pull it out when we're older, and these images of being a child of God, or that we are a little lamb and God is the good shepherd, don't really make sense of the kind of person we are now. And we are called to grow in maturity and understanding our relationship with God. And one of the most powerful and important images that God gives is that we are the bride of Christ and he is the bridegroom. It is an adult picture of love and commitment that is incredibly important as we move to the end of the book of Revelation and indeed move into the realm of eternity. So think about it. How do you understand your relationship with God? And are you tapping into the power of love that he has for you as much as you could? God bless you today.